INDYCAR story continues right here. Welcome to the opening round of the season. It is time for practice 2. It is the second and final practice before we head into the opening qualifying of the year. We've had a slight delay due to the Mazdas that were out there earlier on. We had some track repairs and it means we are slightly behind schedule by just 15 minutes. But now it is time to hand over to INDYCAR Radio, who will be talking you through this session.
Boxes, odd pit boxes. Here's how it broke down. In the all-skate, Alex Palou was fastest with a 61.2108. Then Newgarden, Power, McLaughlin, and Kirkwood. Then we go to the 10-minute session in Group 1, and it was Kyle Kirkwood overall fastest on the day. In that session, he was at 1:04.409. Palou, McLaughlin, O'Ward, and Erickson the top 5. In Group 2, Colton Herta fastest at a 61.0603. Then Dixon, Louis Foster, Connor Daly, and Will Power. What do you make of the speeds and the times that we saw yesterday afternoon?
Well, I think they're going to completely change up, but I have to say, impressed with Kyle Kirkwood's time. He was ahead by quite a bit, Mark. I mean, he seems like this Andretti team, Andretti Global team, always seems to have a lot of speed on street courses, and especially street courses. But Kirkwood seems like he really has things under control right now. You got Colton Herta, his teammate, not far back. Obviously, Palou, Newgarden, McLaughlin ended up being third quick yesterday, but then unfortunately off turn 3, got just a little bit wide through turn 3, Mark, hit those marbles, got into that outside barrier and did quite a bit of damage to that car. But don't worry, that Penske team will get that thing fixed up. They'll be back out here with a super fast race car again, but it's all going to change today. In Mark, by the way, in Indy Next, we've seen several drivers underneath the track record. Can we see that in IndyCar? We'll soon find out.
And we got the post-mortem from Scott McLaughlin on that turn 3 incident yesterday following the session.
Oh, no, it's a little bit of a mistake on my part, unfortunately. Dex Imaging Chevy was feeling pretty good. Just I was a little wide on the exit of turn 3, through 3, and there's a bit of a bump there. And, yeah, the bump just sort of put me a little bit wider than I wanted and no grip out there. So, yeah, a bit of a bummer, the mistake, but, yeah, sort of rather have it happen now and just get on with the weekend. So, yeah, I'll be flat there tomorrow morning. We'll be fine.
And let's find out how fine they will be by talking to Kyle Moyer. We head to Alex Wolf on the pit lane, who's caught up with the Team Penske principal.
And Kyle, we heard the thoughts from Scott yesterday after that wall contact. What was the extent of the damage and the repairs for the 3?
Yeah, it looked a lot worse than it really was. It's sort of like when it broke the push rod, it sort of flopped over the front tire there, which made it look a lot worse. But, the guys worked on it, and then all 3 teams sort of like gathered together and got it back together quite quick. I mean, we were out of here by 8 o'clock last night, so fixed it all up, no tub damage, put a new under tray underneath it. The whole left side sort of like all fresh and everything. Because of the G hit, it was hit so hard, it was over a 60 G hit, so we changed the cap pack and the MGU just to be on the safe side, so should
the race requirement. Colton Herta, for one, managing the tire strategy, Davey. He held out, if you remember, until the final 5 minutes of the 45-minute all-skate, and Will Power said that he was judicious in his use of the primaries, choosing to use one set yesterday, one set today.
Let me just say, if Kyle Moyer is confused about the tire situation, I promise you the entire field is confused about how to run them, when to run them. And Mark, I tell you why. One reason why is the alternate tire, the faster tire, seems that it has a sweet spot of about 1 lap. So after that 1 lap, the speed starts dropping off pretty drastically. The marbles start appearing on the racetrack, which is sometimes sketchy, making it 1 lane, but your lap time just falls falls drastically. So as Kyle just said, it seems to be that the primary tire seems to be the tire that you want during this race and during the weekend. So you want to save a good amount of them for the race. And when you got one of those cut back, it puts a whole new strategy into for everybody.
Got to thank the good folks at Trackside Online, Steve Wittig, Patrick Steffen and company, for the follow-up and the additional intel on the allotment of tires throughout the course of the weekend. Folks, go to Trackside Online, get yourself a membership for the year. That's the kind of insight you'll get from them, and you won't be able to get a lot of other places. So thanks to Patrick and Steve and their staff. Added Dan Layton as a part-timer this year, recently retired from Honda.
Okay, we're going to momentarily interrupt INDYCAR Radio, as it looked like the session originally did get underway, but we are hearing right now that 10:28 local time is right now what the teams are going to be told. So the teams will receive a full schedule, but right now 10:28 a.m. is the scheduled start time. But yes, everything is all over the place. That's why we're still getting everything set up here for you, and all of the graphics will start working very, very shortly. But ignore timing 71 for now. 10:28 local time is when the session is planned to get underway. So that should be in hopefully about 6 minutes time. We'll hand back over to INDYCAR Radio.
We had been kind of referred to as ECR so much that I thought it was kind of fitting to shift the brand a little bit that direction. When we named it Ed Carpenter Racing fully at the beginning, it's just because it was our best, worst idea that we could come up with. So I didn't really need to see my name on it all the time. But I've enjoyed the process, to be honest. I think it definitely signifies a new direction and a change for us, which is positive. We haven't been good enough, so we've got to change the narrative.
A new direction, bringing in a new driver as well with the talented Alexander Rossi. What has his impact been with this team thus far? And already the cars have been quick.
Alex has got a ton of experience, is a very technical guy and a great communicator. So, I think anytime you bring something new in, Renus had been with us 5 years. Christian came in as a rookie with no experience, and we really, as a team, most of the new people we had brought on, were new to the series or had come from other sports. So it was nice to kind of get a perspective from another top team, and that, and just with the way Alex operates in general, has been a good addition, and excited to get the season started here in St. Pete.
What's the biggest thing that he has brought to the team, as far as in car, maybe out of the car, in the garage, or in the shop?
I think just his experience and professionalism. I don't want to say focus, because everyone's been focused, but just a different type of professionalism than what we were used to.
I felt there was a little spider on your cheek there. I got it for you. I didn't know if that was a pal you were taking around with you. I felt bad because I squished it in my fingers, so that's my bad.
I'm fine with physical touch, Michael, and I'm one with nature, so it's all good.
Amen to that. We'll have a great session today, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
That's Ed Carpenter, guys.
He knows no boundaries in which to pursue a story. Our Michael Young, helping out Ed Carpenter and getting tremendous insight. And over the past couple of years, when you look at Connor Daly, Ryan Hunter-Ray, others, certainly there has been a bit of a veteran presence from time to time. And go back to the addition of Ryan Hunter-Ray, and let's face it, Ed at the time said that move was not just about necessarily performance. It's about an Indy 500 winning, a championship winning driver, bring them into the fold, and he wanted Ryan to assess the entire operation. And clearly Ed had put a plan in place, and that plan was able to come to fruition in the offseason. And it's unfortunate their relationship could not continue with Renus VK, but understandably Alexander Rossi became available. That's the direction they went.
Yeah, and I think it's a situation where if it was a three-car team, it was a no-brainer to keep Renus. It was just like you said, with the rebranding, trying something different, and bringing in a different leader. And unfortunately, Renus was the leader of that team. And when you bring in a different leader, it's hard to move the primary leader to second, so to speak, and not being that guy. So tough situation, for the team, for Renus. But the good news is, seems like it's all working out. mean, obviously Rinus is with a new team with Del Coyne Racing, and Rossi, you know, we love seeing him. Obviously, as Ed said, he brings a lot of professionalism, brings some new energy and life to this team, and hopefully it turns into results.
It's not always a guarantee that the change is for the better, and we have seen that recently, in fact. But let's face it, sometimes you hit a ceiling with a race team, and that doesn't matter if you're a young and up-and-coming driver or you're a veteran. And we have seen it over the years, guys feeling like that they have accomplished all they could accomplish with a particular race team. I think that that's true with Alexander Rossi, with McLaren, and I think that that's probably also true to a certain extent with Rinus VeeKay and Ed Carpenter.
Yeah, you know, and you look at both of the drivers and what they've been going through, right? Is the results just haven't been there. I mean, on either driver's side. I mean, Rossi, you know, obviously they both want to win races. They both want to win pole positions and be champions, and it just wasn't working. Rossi went a long time without a win, and with VeeKay, it was the same thing. I mean, he doesn't have the wins that he expected to have and the success. So when you get in that position, it's time to, like, okay, where are we at? Refocus, reevaluate, and I think maybe the door's open for both of those drivers to do that, to completely kind of say, okay, this is our last shot, so to speak, of really making it good, because they may be nowhere to go after this if they don't have the results.
Marcus Armstrong in a new ride, still tethered to the Ganassi organization, whom he has raced with recently. They have a technical alliance now with Meyer-Shank. Meyer-Shank had that technical alliance with Andretti, but moved on, and Chip says he's still very much interested in Marcus Armstrong and keeping an eye on his future. And yesterday, Marcus Armstrong had the other incident that was in the NTT IndyCar Series practice session. It involved a spin, did not make contact, and we asked him to kind of assess and reassess exactly what happened after he got back to the pit lane.
We didn't hit anything, luckily. It's very bumpy there, and I think with the extra weight from this hybrid unit, it's hitting the deck pretty hard there, especially when we raised the minimum speeds a bit on the softer tire. So, I mean, I was lucky. I think Felix was lucky as well. We got a replay here.
And, you know, that's a kind of indicative of what happens on street courses from time to time, Davey. Now, I know you don't have harsh winters or anything here, certainly to any extent, but let's face it, this surface gets plenty hot. I mean, anybody that's been to this region of the country in the summertime knows that the heat can be oppressive and relentless month after month after month, and it does have an effect on this asphalt. And over the course of time, 20-some years that we've been running here, each and every year, you're probably going to find a new bump in a place where you never saw one before.
Yeah, and one thing that this promotion group has done with Green Savory and in the city, they continue to fix anything that needs to be fixed. If you recall, in turn 3 in the past, it was really bumpy, so they came through. They resurfaced that area, I think, a year ago, made it definitely better, but there's still a few bumps there. You can't just eliminate all of them, as you said, with the heat that this takes over the summertime, and, you know, it doesn't have the frost heaves and the winter abuse, which is worse, but things do change, and I have to say, probably the biggest thing that he just said is the weight of these cars. They've really got heavy with the hybrid unit, with the canopies. They tried to lighten them up some to get them lighter, but still pretty heavy. And when you go to do these ride heights, the last thing that you could have is a bottom out. If the cars bottom out, it lifts the tires off the ground and around you go. And that's what happened with Ericsson.
Speaking of the racetrack, there were some issues with it prior to the Indy Next practice session earlier today. That explains why we're off about 15 minutes of the public schedule. Davey, and where was it? Kind of 11 and 12 where they were having to do some repairs to the track, got that session started late?
It was actually on the exit of turn 12, Mark, and we don't usually use that area very often, to be really honest with you. MX5 was out there at the first. They really cut that curb, tried to make a straightaway out of it, jumped those cars off the curb, fairly heavy, and when they landed, it just tore some asphalt up there away from the curbing where the concrete was. We should be good. They did patch it, so it's good, it's safe, it's all good, but it shouldn't affect our cars at all.
I can tell you this, folks, if you're a fan of close quarters, wheel-to-wheel, door-handle racing, Davey, that MX-5 is about as entertaining as it gets with those up-and-coming drivers.
Well, the good news with MX-5, we talked about earlier, is they show up with about 40 cars. I mean, these cars, everywhere they race, there's a massive amount of race cars. Usually they lose about half of them, but there still means there's 20 or so cars in the field. But you're right, it is It seems to be very popular, I think fairly inexpensive, very competitive. Like the cars are so identical that a driver can only do so much to get a little extra out of it. So it's a lot of fun to watch it for sure. But today, you know, I've seen after each session, you see a lot of them being towed off, little track damage, and so you got to prepare for that as well.
And those that own those cars might argue with you that the fact that it's not expensive.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, I shouldn't say that. I guess relative to some of the other cars, but yeah, anytime you put a race car on a racetrack, you know it's going to cost you a lot of money.
I think it's going to be interesting, and I know that Alex Wolff and Michael Young will be keeping an eye on the festivities and the proceedings over this final 45-minute session, Davey, but I tell you, you were dialed in on Kyle Boyer's assessment of this practice session, and we know that we've already heard from, you know, a Colton Herta and a Will Power about how judicious they were with their primary tires, and so that you know, it certainly no question the tire management is going to be impressive to watch throughout the course of this day.
Yeah, you know, the situation is the green sidewall softer compound tire, not red here, but on the street course is green, and I tell you, they're very soft. When you go to put your finger, for example, in a tire, people are surprised on how stiff and how hard they really are. But they need the softer compound ones here. You put your finger in and go, wow, that's pretty darn soft, and it shows it. I mean, they don't last very long. I mean, the sweet spot, like I say, is like all of about one lap, and so yeah, they really got to preserve their primary tires when it comes race time.
Troubles for Will Power at the entrance to turn number 1. He stalled it, waiting to see if it can regenerate to the point where he can get it restarted. Doesn't appear that that's going to happen, so the red flag will fly, and looks like just about everybody made it out on track except for about 7 or 8 cars. Kirkwood, Herta, Power, Foster, and Siegel got out early. While we have this red flag and the cars return to pit road, let's head to pit road, check in with Alex Wolff.
And Mark, some exciting announcements the last couple of weeks involving Dale Coyne Racing, Arenas VK coming aboard for the 2025 season. And also in the last couple of days, Ask ROI coming on board with the 18 car. We got John Stewart, a representative.
And some issues with Alex Wolff and his equipment. We'll try to get back to him once we get that problem solved. Are you the ultimate IndyCar fan? Then join the Ultimate Fan Club and become a member of IndyCar Nation. Get weekly newsletters to your inbox and take advantage of exclusive track experiences at each race weekend. Plus, you can get discounts on merchandise and race tickets. Go to IndyCarNation.indycar.com. And you can join, and you never know, you might be able to stop by the broadcast booth and visit with the folks from IndyCar Radio, as the AMR IndyCar safety team is already hooked up Will Power to the strap, looking to get him back to pit road and see what the issue is with the Verizon machine. Lots of talk about tires this weekend. No better person to catch up with to get the insight from the manufacturer perspective. Michael Young's going to take care of that for you.
Yeah, Kara Kristalik, executive engineer of race tire engineering here at Firestone, and it's a big off season for Firestone and lots of changes that we found out about as we come into St. Petersburg. But I think one of the biggest, and it's one of those situations when IndyCar, I don't know if it was Firestone, made the call, even amounts of reds and blacks this year. Explain how that decision was made.
Sure. Indy came up to us at the end of last year and said, could we shift the alternate tire program? We want to have a really big impact on racing and the difference between primary and alternate tires, and we wanted to cause strategy differences to cause differences in racing. Not only did we shift to 5 and 5 sets, but they also wanted a much larger gap between primary and alternate tires. So for a place like St. Pete and all of our other street courses, we went with a very soft alternate. So the tires are going to be really quick for the first couple of laps, and then they're going to start dropping off right away. So for qualifying, they're going to be quick. They're going to have to make sure they get the right gap and qualify on the right lap. And then when you go to the race, they're going to have to take care of the tires. If you take care of the tires, they'll take care of you, but it's going to be a challenge.
How many different compounds will we see throughout 2025?
So for the street courses, we're only going to see the single primary and alternate, but then we'll see up to about 22 different compounds between INDYCAR and Indy Next. And you'll see a lot of difference at road courses, and then when you get to ovals, left sides and right sides are different. So we've got a lot in stores this year.
The INDYCAR series also tasked Firestone with bringing a bigger disparity between the alternates and then the primary tires. How difficult is that to balance from what we have done in years past? Because basically you throw the old numbers kind of out the window?
So we've had primary and alternate tires in the past. And the good thing here is this alternate tire is very similar to what we ran in 2003. Sorry, 2023. I'm about 2 decades off. So we have a nice gap between those, and we've studied this gap before. The big variable, however, is the extra weight of the hybrid. So that's a little bit difference in performance, a little bit of difference on how those tires go off. So we use our engineering judgment from what we learned with the hybrid later in the season and applied it to what we know about St. Pete and what we know about that tire gap.
How much tinkering does Firestone do within the season and changing of these compounds once you see the tire perform in a race?
So we are always evolving our tire designs. Usually street course tires, we built them at the beginning of the year. They are set for the remainder of the year. We will be learning from this event for some of our other tires that we have not yet built.
For the fans who are listening to us around the world, each year, obviously, you come to Florida. There's not a lot of changes here, but you go up north and to some of the tracks, there'll be a lot of changes. How often do you check the track surface out and make actual changes to the tire due to track changes?
Yeah, we always have to stay on our toes. We have things like repaves that happen or partial repaves. We look at Iowa last year and Mid-Ohio. We are constantly going out to tracks, getting friction measurements, and then understanding where that fits in our lineup of tire compounds to be able to support the race series the best.
We always appreciate your time. Not only that, and the great tires that you guys bring each and every weekend here to the NTT IndyCar Series. Thank you for your time, as always.
All right, thank you, Michael.
It's Kara Kristalik, Executive Race Director and Tire Engineering at Firestone, here on the streets of St. Petersburg.
One of the absolute best, and I'll tell you, over the years, we have been given tremendous access and insight from our friends at Firestone, and it's a relationship that not only we enjoy, but I'll tell you, these drivers, sometimes they might bemoan a little bit the call of the compound, but in terms of the durability and the faith and the trust and the safety they have in these tires, Davey, I think there's one reason why there's a sole tire supplier and one only, and that's because I don't know that any other company has the confidence to come in and try to compete with Firestone.
Yeah, well, and the thing, we look at tire manufacturers over the years. I was, part of the game when there was competition in tires, and man, that was very tough because what happens sometimes to get the speed, the safety went away, and so then the key is you don't want safety to go away. You want the tires to be super safe and to make them the same for everybody, Mark. And one thing that Firestone does, that you just mentioned, they do that. That's the most important thing, to make a safe tire. But then they still make them fast. They want just he said they went to a softer compound tire to get speed out of it. We see track records being set. So it's not like they're just playing, softball out of this. They're still going for the big one, and I appreciate that out of them. And if you have a tire, and the cost comes down, there's just so many things. But I tell you what, Firestone has been such an outstanding partner. You and I have seen it. We've seen it when it was a good year, Mark. We've seen it when their competition was there. But Firestone has stepped up and done an absolutely outstanding job.
I'm told that in Texas, a tire could blow on you, and you can spin through the grass and actually come to stop in your pit box.
Yeah, I know. I know firsthand about tire wars, right? And having those that day in Texas, pretty amazing. I was one of the lucky ones. I was able to blow a tire and back it right into my pit stall, which was pretty crazy. But don't know if I could ever do that a million times, but it worked that day. But that was, as you know, we've seen that so many times. And as a driver, pretty nerve-wracking when you're going around the track not knowing when a tire may just blow out. So we don't have that here today.
Looking at some of the goings-on, the proceedings in the pit lane, Nolan Siegel looks like an exchange of a steering wheel for him. They did get the 12 Horizon machine to the pit box, and Davey, they're pouring over that car, and as you said, it looks like it just shut off.
Yeah, so what happened, I'd seen on board with it going down, he came off at turn 14, Will Power, we're talking, and about halfway down the straightaway, his steering wheel just went blank, just shut off. I mean, just like no lights, nothing. So something definitely happened. I don't know if that is the ECU section of it or the hybrid section part of it, but that wheel went completely blank, just lost all power, and that's why they had to bring him in.
Kyle Kirkwood continues to flex some muscle, as does Andretti as a whole, because Colton Herta is now second. Will Power had turned 2 laps but was third fastest. Pato Award and Nolan Siegel the top 5. Dixon, Ray Hall, Simpson, Daly, and Eilot the top 10. Then Malukas, Erickson, Ferrucci, and Louis Foster. Abel, Armstrong, Rob, DeFrancisco, Lundgaard, Rasmussen, and Rinus VK. All 21 cars have turned laps so far. Newgarden, McLaughlin, Palou, Rossi, Rosenquist, Schwartzman have yet to turn a lap. We expect them to do so soon, but again, Davey, tire management, and we don't mean to belabor a point, but that's the reality of the changes that they made.
Yeah, you right now, I bet you talk to the majority of the teams, and if they ask them, hey, do you like the tire situation where it's 5 alternates and 5 primaries for this weekend? And at this particular weekend, they're probably going, no, we'd rather have the 6 primary and the 4 alternate like it used to be. But hey, it's the same for everybody now. You just have to really manage them, make sure that you put the right tire on at the right time. But it's going to be, I'm just so interesting to see and so curious on how they're going to do a simulated qualifying run when you only get one, maybe 2 laps at the very best, and then that tire's no good. And really, when I say no good, you don't want to put it back on the car for any other practices, by the way, other than, Mark, you probably need to do somewhat of a long run on that alternate tire just to see how much it falls off.
Kyle Kirkwood, Award, now Dixon, Herta, DeFrancesco starting to climb up timing and scoring. Davey, that's a young man that throughout the course of the weekend, I think, I know he had the test session, but you know what it's like. Of course, he's not been out of the car as long as you were, but Devlin DeFrancesco took a year away, and that's a tough road to hoe.
Yeah, that's right. And not just a year away, but going with a completely different team. I mean, just so much to learn, not familiar people. So you're right. I mean, he's almost like a rookie to some point as we're talking DeFrancesco. Says P10 right now, but as cars get out, get to speed, he's gonna have a long year to kind of get refocused again.
Back to the pits and Michael Young.
Yeah, with Ron Rzuski, race strategist for Will Power. It just flat shut off the Gremlins early in the season. Do you know what happened to Will Power's car?
Right now it seems like it's something related with the hybrid system, with the MGU, potentially a voltage drain issue. We're just looking into it now as soon as we hopefully diagnose it and get back out in the session.
Obviously, we had the hybrid unit the latter half of 2024. Is it an easy fix now? Do you know what to go if you do have issues or where to look?
We're certainly smarter about it. We know where to look, but it's difficult to say right now. We got all the experts looking at the data, and we'll figure out what it is.
I'll let you get back to it. Thank you for the time. Yep. That's Ron Rzuski. He's a race strategist for Will Power. Alex Wolf.
And we have a chance to catch up with John Stewart. He represents Ask ROI, that's sponsoring Arenas VK's car this weekend with Dale Coyne Racing. And first off, I guess we've seen Ask ROI on the cars the last couple of years with Ed Carpenter Racing. But first things first, what is Ask ROI?
Well, Ask ROI is a AI platform specifically designed for business leaders and owners. And the CEO of Ask ROI, Todd Alt, loves INDYCAR racing. He, as you know, we sponsored Ed Carpenter Racing the past 3 years. And Dale Coyne just seems like a perfect place for us to come. Dale is a small business owner, not only on the race team side, but has a number of business interests in Sonny's Barbecue and different things. So we're partnering with Dale. We're excited to have Rinus. We have worked with Rinus the past 3 years, and so it's exciting to sponsor Rinus and get behind him, but to really be part of Dale Coyne Racing in this small business and try to use AI in our platform to help them not only on the track, but also off the track. So we're excited to be here.
And have you been able to find, with your involvement with the teams here in the IndyCar Series and now with Dale Coyne Racing, that racing is a place, because after all, racing not only is a hobby, a sport, but also a business. But have been able to find ways to sort of get more information and get more involvement in this sport?
Absolutely. That's why Todd Alt loves coming here. I mean, we do business deals. There's a lot of people in the paddock. One of the Todd's companies is a crane company. And Mike Lanigan here, who's part of Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan, sells cranes. And so they're doing business now. One of their sponsors, Fleet Cost Care, They are actually doing business on the Crane Company too, so we love doing business with other sponsors. We love the fact that there are business leaders here. Jim Meyer from Meyer Shank has become a real good friend to Todd on a business side, because Jim was the CEO of SiriusXM. So the unique thing about IndyCar racing, when you're a sponsor, getting to be able to be in this platform. I mean, Todd, being a business owner in Las Vegas, Nevada, having an opportunity to deal with the Penske's in the world, or the Ganassis of the world, this is an incredible place for new companies to come in, invest, and get to know everybody else in the paddock. And the fan base has been fantastic too. We'll still activate. We want all the fans. Anybody who wants to play around with AI, they can go to askroi.com right now and sign up for free without a credit card and try the platform out. So it's a fantastic platform. We don't have the Davey Hamilton AI assistant built yet, but if we just record today's broadcast, I think we'll be able to pull Davey as an AI assistant to get Davey's things, his take on things.
Oh, we certainly look forward to that and being able to use that aspect of the platform. And we're certainly exciting times with things going on with AI, exciting times with the IndyCar series for 2025. And John, we really appreciate not only you spending some time with us, but just the involvement of Ask ROI with the NTT IndyCar series.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, it's good stuff, Alex Wolf. And Davey, I think that kind of sums up what the sponsorship opportunities are all about on the business side of the NTT IndyCar series. There are forms of sports and other forms of motorsports where it is certainly a business-to-consumer relationship. But this one, for a number of years now, has been as much as anything about a business-to-business relationship.
Yeah, no question about it. And as John said, Todd Alt loves this sport. And you don't forget, John loves this sport as well. Been doing this for a long time. And I know what their plans are. I know what their future looks like. And it's, in any kind of business, there's ups and downs in business. And I know with BitNile, the cryptocurrency is it's a challenge. There's a lot to learn. Risk ROI seems to be, that's what's coming. This, intelligence platform is pretty incredible, actually, and what they're able to do. And I love it because of, number one, it's in our sport, Mark. They're in IndyCar. They love this sport. They love this series, and they just continue to invest and grow. And just like I said, I knew that with the Crane Company, I knew there was business going on there, and good people. I mean, they got a lot of work ahead of them, as any business does, but it's great to see that they teamed up with Del Coyne. Earlier on, we talked about with Del Coyne. They feel that it's such a great fit. They have a relationship with Rinus. They feel like it's a great fit with Del just because of the small ownership platform. So I'm anxious to see what happens in the future.
I think as much as anything, it speaks well for the belief in what the series can do for you as a business when a relationship ends with one motorsports team in the NTT IndyCar series, and it was clear that they had a strong interest in staying in the series.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And another thing, being in any series or any sport, sometimes it's from sponsors to drivers, the fit's not quite there, or they want to do something maybe a little bit different, and that's from a driver. Maybe he doesn't fit with one team but fits with another. But it's so different in sponsors. We've seen sponsors go from one team to another team just because maybe there's a better fit, better opportunity. And as long as they stay in the sport, I think it's great.
So where we stand right now, Pato Award with 30 minutes or so remaining in this session is P1, his teammate Nolan Siegel. Second quick, Marcus Ericsson. Third fastest, Dixon Herta, the top five. Herta, slips down to sixth now as we go Award, Siegel, Ericsson, Rosenquist, Dixon. Then Herta, Palou, Malukas, Lundgaard, and Rasmussen. Eilert, Newgarden, Stingray Robb, Connor Daly, that new 76 sponsorship, Ferrucci, VK, Kirkwood Armstrong, Rahal, DeFrancesco, Foster Simpson, Alexander Rossi, Jacob Abel, Will Power, who's had some gremlins of some kind, might be related to the hybrid unit, and Scott McLaughlin has turned one lap, and you heard Kyle Moyer say earlier that they're going to be managing the tires rather judiciously. Let's get an update from the pit lane with Michael Young.
Yeah, just been walking up and down halfway through this session, and the wholesale changes being made. Both of the Juncos Hollinger Racing cars changing those rear dampers. They've been working on both of those cars, not only for Stingray Robb, but for Connor Daly as well. Marcus Ericsson also on pit lane, changing the dampers on the front of that car. So with still 30 minutes remaining in this session, trying to get a better feel for what they have here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Mark, as soon as we say that, we go to red flag conditions.
As we do so, Santino Ferrucci was ordered to serve a drive-through. Race control not happy with some of his on-track proceedings, and so he was ordered to the pit lane. And so, Davey, issues in kind of the same area. We did say while we were visiting, we did see a spin by Graham Rahal, but he was able to get it back underway. But yeah, there's an issue on the race course, and that brings out a red flag.
Yeah, right now looking at turn 11, so the patchwork before was exit of turn 12, so a little bit different area when they're talking turn 11. There's a wall right there as you just barely clear that wall going in, but there is a bit of a curb right there, so I can't see anybody out there yet. Don't know what that situation is. Hopefully just something minor in turn 11. Fast area right there, kind of a blind corner into that switchback from turn 11 to 12.
INDYCAR app powered by NTT Data, available to fans free. Find spotter guides, weekend schedules, point standings involving your favorite drivers, plus you can listen to our coverage of every lap of every on-track session. You can download the app today and stay on track with the NTT INDYCAR series. And kind of a busy day, Davey Hamilton. I mean, we've already got some of the business out of the way in terms of the final Indy Next practice session. And then after this session concludes, we'll go qualifying at 1:30 Eastern this afternoon for the Indy Next, presented by Firestone, and then have INDYCAR qualifying, the knockout format, the Firestone Fast 6. You can join us for those proceedings around 2:35. And then a busy day tomorrow, that morning warm-up session from 9 to 9:30. Then at 10 o'clock Eastern, flag-to-flag coverage of the Indy Next race. And then we'll wrap it up by kicking off the 2025 campaign with the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Again, pre-race festivities begin at 11:30 with driver interviews, and we'll take the green flag about an hour later around 12:29. And can't ask for much better weather than what's being enjoyed in Florida this weekend, Davey Hamilton. And everyone, I think, to a man and woman, agrees that as long as possible, we need for Green Savory Promotions and the good folks of the streets of St. Petersburg to serve this series as its series opener for the season.
Yeah, can't agree more. I definitely can't agree more. I mean, it's so nice to come down to the sunshine, coming from the north, Mark. We know how cold it's been up in Indiana and around where we all live, and to feel this heat and sunshine, so pleasant. The only thing that they don't have figured out yet is when you go into the restaurants, it feels like we're back at home again. You had to have your jacket just to go into the restaurants, but that's the only time, and that's not much to complain about because you can walk outside with this beautiful sunshine and clear sky. And Mark, just back to the track, I want to just bring it up. It looked like just maybe one piece of asphalt or debris came up just in a small area. It looks like the AMR safety crew checked that area out, Mark, and it seems like we're going to be clean and green. Nothing to patch at this point, which is good news.
Back to Michael Young.
Yeah, with Renee Rawson with Prema Racing, as we are in a red flag condition right now. Renee, it's interesting. The IndyCar Series sometimes will get a new team developed from within, but to see a team like Prema Racing come over from Europe, so many championships, such a successful organization, why come over to the States and run in the NTT IndyCar Series?
Honestly, I think we were looking on a new challenge. We're looking on something bigger than what we were doing at the moment, and IndyCar has all the ingredients, and for that we are really proud to be here. The first race is a bit difficult, but we have a long road ahead of us, and it's a long journey. And I'm really proud of all the job mechanics and engineers done so far. We just hit the track yesterday for the first time, and we are looking forward of a great season together here.
How did Robert Schwartzman, Callum Ilott, how did you decide on the two drivers to bring into 2025?
Honestly, the choice of the drivers being quite automatically. Two drivers that knows Prema, two drivers that is racing with Prema in the past. One had already IndyCar experience, so was a plus. The other was it will be a great rookie. So we are really looking forward of a great season.
Looking forward to the Indianapolis 500, obviously one of the crown jewels throughout the United States. Has it always been a dream for this Italian team to be able to run at the Indianapolis 500?
Honestly, it's a dream come true. Racing on the Indy 500 is something incredible, and we need to be proud one the moment already from the open test when we will be there hitting the speedway, but mainly on the Sunday of the race to let's hope to do a good job and doing and be all the Italians proud.
For everything that you have done in Europe, for Formula 2, Formula 3, all the great drivers that you have put together and won championships with, we welcome you to the United States, and we wish Prema Racing all the very best. Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, all.
Renee Rawson with Prema, guys.
Yeah, good stuff. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Davey, when it came to time to make a decision involving drivers that would help help them grow and grow quickly, it made sense for them to establish a relationship with drivers that they had already had a relationship with.
That's absolutely right, and it goes beyond that. How about Ryan Briscoe as a driver coach, been with that team before? How about Ramon Grosjean is the backup driver for this team, been with that team before? So they really counted on drivers that they're familiar with, that the drivers are familiar with them, and knowing what the big pictures and knowing what they do. I know quite a few guys that work over there right now, and Mark, I'll have to say, there is nothing that is not absolutely proper first class. I mean, nothing used, nothing. I mean, they go for it, and they are going for it. They're here for a long time. They're excited about being here. They really have proper people, from drivers all the way down to the last guy, and it's exciting to watch this team grow.
Teams actually taking to the course now en masse with just 27 minutes remaining. Now, we do want to remind folks that there's about a 1 hour window, but again, Davey, this is something that I think Scott McLaughlin suggested a couple of years ago with his experience with supercars. Remember, we would have a 45-minute window for a practice session, and then we would get a red or we would get cautions or whatever, and then that time would be pared down to 20 or 25 minutes. Well, a couple of years now, we have had a 1 hour window to get that 45 minutes in. So when we have these red flag conditions, the clock actually stops, and they do as much as they possibly can to get these teams and drivers their full 45 minutes of practice. And I really liked the call a couple of years ago, and thankful for whoever made the suggestion.
Yeah, well, obviously you're right. Scott McLaughlin brought that concept over here, and it really just makes sense. I think that is a perfect idea, and so it was working out well.
Back to Michael Young.
Now, we're talking with Renee Rawson just moments ago. The 83 still sat on pit lane. That's the machine of Robert Schwartzman. Troubles with the radio. Renee told me they were having problems yesterday. Still have those problems today. Obviously, if you can't be and communicate with the cars, they can't have you out on the track. So they're struggling with the radio of Robert Schwartzman's car, and they'll hope to have that fixed shortly.
The Swede from Meyer-Shank, Felix Rosenqvist. Davey currently P1. He's made 6 starts here. We'll talk more about Felix Rosenqvist and how we hope for kind of a rebound season for him. But we have to hear from a guy who's mastered these streets of St. Petersburg, Alex Wolf, and he's also mastered the Indianapolis Motor Speedway 4 times.
Oh, absolutely, a 4-time winner at Indianapolis, a multi-time winner here in St. Pete, Elio Castroneves. And first off, before we talk about the here and now in St. Pete, you've already been busy this season racing. What was that experience like in the stock car at Daytona?
Yeah, certainly it was an incredible experience. I really had a great time. Again, still can't thank enough Trackhouse, Project 91, and even NASCAR community, you know, to able to have the opportunity to experience such an incredible race. You know, the car was awesome. It was just such a lot of information in such a short period of time. But it was great, absolutely great, and yeah, now it's back again in the INDYCAR season, so it's great to be here.
Have you been struggling talking to some of the drivers who've been saying push and loose, or is it back to understeer and oversteer?
Yeah, it sounds like with you know, a little more weight in the car, basically it makes the car a little more difficult challenge, especially in turn 3 when Marcos had an issue as well. And when you have that kind of that much weight compared to last year, believe it or not, these cars are so precise that a small difference in weight can cause like a huge turbulence in what you're gonna do. So, but it's the same for everyone, and people just gotta continue going and having the best out of trying to find the best setup.
And looking ahead to 2025 with Meyer-Shank, what's it like been welcoming Marcus Armstrong into the team, and Felix Rosenqvist looking for improvements this season, and it's showing right now second on the speed chart.
Yes, no question. It's a new experience to everyone. Remember, we just changed, you know, technical alliance from Andretti to Ganassi. So everyone here is brand spanking new, including Marcos, of course. But in the end of the day, I mean, everyone it's really getting along well, understanding the whole system, the way how it works. Boys and girls are working extremely hard in the shop to put everything together, and they did a phenomenal job. So it's just finally we're back in the season starts, and looking forward to a great season for sure.
Of course, such great tradition here in St. Pete, the 20th anniversary we're commemorating of Dan Weldon's win here. And when we think of Dan, we think of St. Petersburg, we think of you. It all comes together, that touching moment when you won here in 2012 and paid tribute to him in Dan Weldon Way. What kind of memories come back when you come here to the streets of St. Pete?
Yeah, no question. Dan is always going to be, even that he's not here with us, but we're never going to forget about him, his family. And it was certainly St. Pete is a place that everybody's ready. Everybody's full of energy, not only the fans, but also the drivers, the teams, everyone, sponsors. So it's perfect. It's perfect to celebrate, an incredible, successful race event that everybody, not only the series put a great show, but also the community. And again, and having, the memories of Dan, of course, it's always great. For me, it was a bittersweet, no question, of winning a race here. But again, remember our friend, and we just got to keep it going.
Well, certainly a great moment. We hope for many more great moments. We'll let you get back to work, Elliot.
I appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
Really good stuff from a legend and a champion, and another one of those legends and Indy 500 champions that we see very much still involved with the sport at a very high level. Davey, back to Felix Rosenqvist. By the way, he's now P3, but it's still been a good weekend for him all in all. 6 starts here at St. Petersburg. He was 5th in 2022. He started 3rd and finished 4th in 2019, but 4 other finishes outside the top 10. For this 2019 Rookie of the Year, he just had a lot of bad luck last year that had nothing to do with him. He's a guy, another one of those, Davey, closing in on 100 starts, believe it or not. He has just 1 win, but he's got 41 top 10. So Felix Rosenqvist, I think, is ready to have a breakthrough year in the NTT IndyCar Series.
I can't agree more. I mean, as you said, P3 right now. I mean, he has had the opportunity to win some races. Things just didn't go his way, like you said. But, man, he knows how to get pole positions, that's for sure. He knows when to be fast, how to do it. Just needs to finish him off, and I'll tell you, it's going to be impressive. How about Lundgaard? Let's talk about him. You see Lundgaard and Rahal to the top. Well, they're not teammates anymore, by the way. They're 2 different teams. Lundgaard now with Arrow McLaren on top. But how about Graham Rahal, Mark? We continue to talk about if Graham Rahal can qualify good, he is back in contention because we know how good he races. He always moves forward in the races, has a great race pace. But right now, that Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan team with Graham Rahal in second is really impressive.
Well, we got comments from him yesterday, Davey, and he said, they continue to massage that deal and, continue to try to move it forward. And he said this is probably their most aggressive offseason to date. And certainly, in all forms of racing that you've been behind the wheel, there's no question, and I don't care if it was way back in 2008, when you go to a racetrack at which you've won before, it just gives you a bigger level of confidence and comfort.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think you're right. He won here. He knows this place. He would love to have a repeat here. And then just knowing that the struggles that that team has been through and how hard they are working. You look at that team and the shop that they have. You come here and see their setup. It's so professional. They're doing it very properly. But they were just missing something. And the first ones that tell you they're missing something would be Graham Rahal. He's the one that tells you if there's a weak link. He'll be very vocal. He's told all of us on radio before, Mark, and that things that they need to work on. It seems this year it's changed. There's a difference, and right now the speed's showing that difference.
Well, and he's got his teammate Devlin DeFrancesco has worked his way into the top 5.
Yeah, he got back. Another great run. Devlin, we just talked about, maybe a tough year, struggled a little bit, it's been out for a while, but right now he's proven us all wrong on that in that P4 spot. How about Frucci? Didn't show much yesterday in that AJ Foyt car. Right now, P5. Obviously, he has that Penske technology relationship. I mean, as far as the dampers and engineering goes, he has help from them. And right now, Frucci, he wants to be on top of the board right now in that P5 spot with AJ Foyt Racing.
19 minutes remaining in the session. Christian Lundgaard is P1 at a minute .720. Then Rahal, Rosenqvist, DeFrancesco. Ferrucci was in the top 5 momentarily. Joseph Newgarden has now gone to 4th fastest, and Devlin DeFrancesco was punted back to 5th. Ferrucci 6th, Pato Award 7th. Scott McLaughlin is up to 8th. Nolan Siegel is 9th. Erickson, VK, and Malukas through 15th. And then Eilert, Power, Rossi, Rasmussen, and Daly Rob, Kirkwood, Foster, Armstrong, Simpson, and Abel. And Davey, we heard a few minutes ago that only 26 cars have made an appearance, or 26 of the 27, we should say, is apparently there's still some issues with the car of Robert Schwartzman.
Yeah, the radio issues, and that we talked about. They will not let you on track until you have full communication with the team and race control both. And so it seems pretty easy, right? Just radios. Everybody, that's nothing to do with the team. You just buy the radios, you put them in. But it's a lot of work. You know, one little wire wrong, where they're wired into the steering wheels and so forth, could be a problem. And obviously, that is the problem for Schwartzman. Now, you look at some of these other drivers out here. Let's talk about Abel. We know he's trying to find his way with that Coyne racing car. Finds himself in that 26th spot. But VK, how about that 15th with Dale Coyne? Shows a little speed there as well.
Interesting to note, Joseph Newgarden, of course, initially won the race, was declared the winner a year ago. That was later taken away. In his history here, Joseph Newgarden has a pole, 2 wins, and 6 finishes, though outside of the top 10. It's kind of been feast or famine. And Davey, at the content day, where we get a chance to talk to all of the drivers, we asked him about the desire to win the Indy 500 again, and we asked a number of drivers, and you'll hear as we get closer to May some of their fascinating responses to, you know, we asked the guys who haven't won it how often they think about it, and we've asked those who won it which is stronger, the desire to win it or the desire to win it again. And as far as Joseph Newgarden, he feels like even though he's going for the three-peat, which would put him all by his lonesome and be able to accomplish that feat, the late Bill Vukovich came close, Elio Castroneves came close, but Joseph Newgarden has a legitimate shot to do the three-peat of the Indy 500, and he said, bottom line is this, he said, in terms of winning the race, all the pressure is off of me.
Yeah, that's right. You win the first one, the pressure's off of you. Now you want to try to go to the record books. No matter what he is going to try to do, as you said, 3 in a row would be just amazing.
Let's go to pit lane, check in with Michael Young.
Yeah, with Tony Kanaan named the team principal for Arrow McLaren Racing. First off, congratulations. You're living quite the dream, my friend.
I mean, I have to say, there was definitely not planned, but yes, I can't complain. I'm part of a great team, great brand, and I'm at the racetrack, so that's, you know, once you get hooked, even as a driver, when you retire, you just want to be at the track, and I'm enjoying a lot, enjoying the fans. I think we have a pretty good fan base with the Papaya fans, and 3 great guys. Mike, I'm just here to take the punches from now on, so.
How does it feel to be the guy that you're going to be the meat bag for a little bit now? You're going to have drivers complaining to you other than being on the other end where you complain to the team principal. So how do you handle something like that? Do you understand being a former driver?
100%, and actually it's a good wake-up call for me that the stuff that I used to complain that made no sense. So it's a good balance, right? I've been on both sides. I think we have a pretty good relationship here in this team, saying we shoot each other straight, and me being in the car and outside of the car, I think I can filter some of that as well, but you know, that's part of it. I think our biggest challenge this year is to make this team one team like we wanted, and come here and just do what we know and do what we enjoy, which is race and win races.
Arrow McLaren took officially over the team with Schmidt Peterson no longer part of the project. Now you can do it the way you want to do it. What do you look for in this team that you want to make improvements on, and where are you guys so strong that you're like, hey, we don't need to touch this?
You know, Sam was a big part of this organization. I think he set the land for us to be where we are. Nowadays, I think we have a very successful team around the world, and then we're trying to make it as a one team unified and pick the best out of everything and try to reciprocate here. I don't think there is anything that I'm going to point out saying, oh, we have to do better. I think we have to be better every day. We have to be open-minded to improve every day. You know, we have a tendency, especially as older as you get, you think, well, I've done this like this for so many years and work, why we're going to change it? So I think my job is more of trying to filter that, keep some of the stuff there already good, and look forward to always an improvement. I'm looking for a lot of a continuity in this team. I think throughout my career, I had some very loyal mechanics and engineers that made me very successful. So I don't know any other way to work, Mike. So I truly believe that that is something that I can bring to this team and make the guys that we have the best guys out there. I mean, we all have very capable people, and how we're going to extract the best out of each one is probably going to be the key. So as a driver, that's what I've done. That's how we won the Indy 500 with one of the smallest teams in the series. So I'm up for the challenge. We're enjoying a lot. Obviously, not every day is a good day, but you know, we're up for it.
Lastly, 20 years ago, the four of you at Andretti were able to sweep the top 4 spots here in the streets of St. Petersburg. You, Dario, and Brian recreated that photo with Dan's memorial. The emotion coming back here, just the memories of Andretti Green Racing.
I mean, it at the time was very special, and I think for very sad circumstances became even more special. So that is not one time that I don't think of Dan in any position. Like when I took this job, I was already thinking what a tax I was going to get from Dan and how much banter he was going to give it to me. So obviously leaving that moment, then it was very special. Fast forward 20 years from then, and we're still around, the 3 of us, a lot less hair, some of them dyeing their own hair and some have gray hair. It's awesome, and keeping Dan's memory alive, it's really important. He was a big part of INDYCAR. I'm a big fan of, you know, people that contributed to that, from AJ even prior to that, and here having his kids here and getting them to see what his dad did because they were so little, it's always cool. But it was really emotional, and looking at the pictures from 20 years ago and now, it was pretty cool. I have to say, I don't know about you fans, but I still look better than all the other 2, but they would disagree with me.
I was going to say, you still look pretty good. Hey, great eyes and ears for this team. Congratulations on the promotion, and well-deserved.
Thank you, and big thanks to the fans that are here. Every year this place doesn't disappoint, and hopefully we'll put a good race for them. Hopefully we'll put our cars in the front, but we're defending the win here for Pato. We didn't make to the podium last year for some circumstance, so hopefully we'll do that and we'll get to celebrate in a proper way.
Best of luck, my friend.
Thank you.
As Tony Kanaan, team principal, just announced a week or so ago here at Arrow McLaren.
Ericsson, VK, Lundgaard, Rahal, Rosenquist, the top 5. Newgarden, DiFrancesco, Ferrucci, Award, McLaughlin, the top 10. Fastest time so far, 1:05.15. 11th, Siegel. 12th, Rossi. 13th, Pillow. 14th, Armstrong. 15th, Herta. Then Dixon, Malukas, Eilert, Power, Rasmussen through 20th. Daly, Robb, Kurtwood, Foster, Simpson, 25th. Abel, 26th. Back to the pits, and Alex Wolff.
And the aforementioned Felix Rosenquist, he's been in the top 5 on the speed charts for the last little while, and he just brought the Sirius XM Honda number 60 from Meyershank Racing to the attention of the crew. They took the front cover off, a quick change of the front springs, working on the damper package for the 60 car, and they sent him back out onto the streets of St. Petersburg.
Back to the discussion about Arrow McLaren. Davey went into the season with all kinds of promise with the team that they had put together. David Malukas, Alexander Rossi, and also Pato Award. But Davey, that trio never ever raced together because of the preseason injury to David Malukas, and that resulted in a bit of a revolving door. Teo Porcher, Callum Eilert got opportunities to drive that car. Then Nolan Siegel was an addition to that team about the midway point of the season, and so now that they have their driver lineup, they think a bit more stable, and they've added TK to the top and separated themselves a little bit from Sam Schmidt and that entity. I think expectations are awfully high for Arrow McLaren this year.
One thing that we've came to realize, I think, with Arrow McLaren, never be surprised at what happens next. Zach Brown keeps everything mixed up, whether it's hiring drivers, getting rid of drivers. Now, I think a big surprise, Tony Khan being principal of the team. I think it's great. I love it for Tony. Zach is he plays all the cards, whether it's Formula One, whether it's INDYCAR, anything that he's involved with. So expect the unexpected of that team. But one thing that I feel like you can expect is wins. I mean, I feel they have really good drivers. I think with Lundgaard and Pato especially right now, I mean, just the experience that they have, and it seems the talent that both of them bring, and the desire to be up front, I think that will happen. I don't count Siegel out. I just think he has a bit of a learning curve to do. These cars are extremely hard to drive. I mean, they're very heavy wheels. I think that you have to be super fit to be able to make it through a full race without getting physically tired. So I think maybe on the physical side, Nolan may be down. He's just a small guy, but he'll get strong and figure it out.
Michael Young.
Yeah, with Marcus Ericsson, a little over 9 minutes remaining in this practice session. Are you out of the car for good reasons or bad reasons?
Nah, for good reasons. We had a plan to, do a couple of runs and get a read on new tires here. Not too late, because usually these second practice sessions, especially on road street courses, gets quite hectic. There's a lot of traffic out there, and we wanted to get our run done a bit earlier. And if we were happy, we were going to call it and just go back and, fine-tune for quality, because we were very happy with the car. We were happy yesterday as well, so no reason for us to be out in heavy traffic.
What are your understandings of these tires and their dynamics thus far? Have you been able to get a good read on them?
Yeah, it's going to be tricky this weekend. The primaries are really working well and, consistent, but it's those alternates that's very, very peaky. And I think we saw that yesterday. A lot of people get caught out with that. So that's going to be the big challenge this afternoon to, get the balance right for that, very short time of you have a grip in those alternates. So I think it will be super interesting. And again, for tomorrow with those, because you have to run at least one set of alternates. So that's going to spice things up as well. So not ideal maybe for engineers, but good for fans and people watching.
Keep it spicy. Glad you had a good session. We'll see you later on in qualifying.
Thank you.
It's Marcus Ericsson.
Yeah, and he ended at the top of the speed chart, Davey, at a minute flat 5:15. So a good start to the weekend for Marcus Ericsson.
Yeah, very good start to the weekend. And by the way, I think he did that on the primary tire. I don't think that was on the softer tire. So interesting to see. Now we see VK on that softer tire, P2 right now, Pelot on a standard, then Siegel, that other Aero McLaren car, the third one, on that alternate compound softer tire.
Any idea from a race strategy standpoint how you would have handled the new tire allotment for this particular session? What would you want to have at your disposal for qualifying?
Well, I think the situation is everybody, you probably arrived here knowing that the tire allotment's difference 5 and 5, as you just mentioned, and that alternate compound sometimes could be a benefit to have that stretch. But here means that so as Ericsson calls it, so peaky, that means it's only good for 1, maybe 2 laps, and then it falls off pretty drastically. Man, I tell you, strategies are all changed, and Kyle Moyer alluded to that as well. And I think the situation will be is go out there on your primary tire, get the car shook down as we do for qualifying, and then when you could get 1 clean lap in towards the end of that session, put that alternate on and go for it and just see what happens. But I think don't be surprised if the pole sitter in that final fast 6 isn't on a primary tire.
And let's not put too much of the focus on the change in the tire allotment and when they can and can't be used. Let's go back to the original conversation that Michael had with Kara Kristalik. The compound changes too, which adds yet another wrinkle to the strategy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, I think it's good. I think Marcus said probably the best. Hey, it's maybe not good for the engineers because they're all scratching their head, but for the fans and people watching, it's probably going to be great for all of us because it's going to keep everybody guessing, and including myself. It's like, okay, I have to do some work. When are these guys going to put them on? Are they going to start with that alternate tire, depending on where they qualify? Are they going to try to get rid of it in the middle of the race? So, I think everybody's going to try to run them as least amount of time as they possibly can in this race. I think the winner of the race may be lucky and maybe start with them, have early yellow come in and get them off and be on alternates or on primaries the rest of the race, but we'll find out tomorrow.
Got to tell you, folks, with 5 minutes remaining in this session, and Davey, some good stories among this top 10 in terms of drivers looking for good starts to the season after either less than successful 2024 campaigns or guys that are with new race teams and want to get off to a great start. Talking about Ericsson P1, Rinus VK now with Dale Coyne, Nolan Siegel is currently 4th quick, Christian Lundgaard with a new team is 5th quick, David Malukas with a new team is 8th quick, same for Marcus Armstrong, 9th quick, and Graham Rahal 10th fastest, Felix Rosenquist 11th. Some good stories among the top 10 or 11, Davey.
Yeah, and go a little farther. Let's go down 2 more to Di Francesco. We talked about him. Didn't even run last year with that Rahal, Letterman, Laganen team, and finds himself in that 13th spot. Pretty impressive right now for him as well.
Well, and let's face it again, we don't want to make too much about what's going on at the rear of the field. I mean, you've got, Will Powers back there in 22nd. We already have talked about right off the top that Will Power was going to be judicious with his tire allotment in these practice sessions. You've got Rasmussen back there. You've got Jacob Abel. We understand he's a rookie. Stingray Robb, rookie Louis Foster. We've got the 3 rookies, Davey, from 24th to 27th. And while all they're accomplished racers in other forms of racing, let's face it, when you first arrive at the NTT IndyCar Series, and you know this, even though the cars have changed from when you drove somewhat, you don't know what you don't know at this point, right?
Yeah, that is correct. That's exactly right. And I was just looking at the timing scoring, and I seen the Uncos Allender team, which obviously we know is Stingray Robb and Daly. They were down at 25th and 26th, and I went back to look. I go, where'd they go? They just moved. Daly went all the way to P5, so you got an Uncos Allender car now in the P5, and then Stingray Robb, where'd he go? I don't even see him on the chart.
Stingray Robb 7th quick.
There you go, 7th quick. Yeah, how about that? That's pretty impressive out of that team as well.
Yeah, and it marks a return to that race team, you know, and he talked about it. He was very open and honest about it in the offseason. I mean, when he ran for them before, he said they didn't part under the best of circumstances and the best of terms, but he and Ricardo Juncos had a long conversation, was able to put the past in the past, and I think they're both excited about the opportunities that exist between them and having Connor Daly as a teammate this year. And let's face it, Connor Daly, a lot of folks, he's a fan favorite, but Davey, as much as anything, he deserved this shot because the fact of the matter is, regardless of whether you like Connor Daly or not, the fact of the matter is, it is a business after all, and they got in that leader's circle money because of Connor Daly.
Yeah, that's correct. And you know, Connor, he's came a long way. He's been in this series a long time now. We keep forgetting how long he has been competing in the IndyCar Series because it seems like he's never been with a team more than 1 year at a time, and he's been with pretty much every team in the paddock pretty close. And so at one time or another, and him, like you said, coming back, big full circle back to Uncos Allender Racing, and right now, I think he, you know, some sponsorship things fell through just, you know, weeks ago. He's a fighter. They're trying to find more money, and seems like things are falling his way. Even sometimes bad luck turns into good, and it seems that's what's happened for Connor.
Well, I think if you are able to put 2 and 2 together, and you look at that car and the fact that the number has changed to 76, and you're following along with what's going on in the series and some of the things that have gone beyond a whisper, and I think as you folks discussed with some of the team principals earlier today during the Indy Next presented by Firestone, there was a reason why not only the number was changed to 76, but the reason why the 76 looks like it does on that car. And I think most people could probably figure out that an announcement is coming very, very soon.
Yeah, by the way, not just there, but Indy Next as well. So, yeah, we're excited about this announcement and what's going to be. We know who it is. I can't recall ever seeing that 76 ball ever being in our series. So I just awesome that maybe somebody new and new sponsors coming to our side and seeing what this series really has to offer.
And again, Davey, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, and we talked about, you know, how we have a changing of the guard a bit and have had over the past few years, but some of those guys that we once labeled the young guns, like the Graham Rahols and the Joseph Newgardens and the Colton Hurtas, Connor Daly's certainly one of those, Davey. Believe it or not, he's had 115 NTT IndyCar Series starts, and he is now a veteran, most assured.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what just surprising how long he's really been with this series, and he wants to, win more than ever. And how about the race at Milwaukee last year? I think that really solidified how hungry he was. Did just a great job there, finishing on the podium. And I know Will Power for sure was one of them. I think every driver, all of us in the media, were so happy to see that and celebrated with him. It's always good to see maybe that underdog have a good opportunity.
Weekend off to a good start for a veteran driver with a new race team. Alex Wolf, Renus VK, currently P2 with about 6 seconds remaining in this session.
Renus in P2 in this session. How'd the 18 car feel?
Yeah, it felt good. We saved our reds, or our greens, I guess, for practice too, to get a better feel closer to qualifying. That was our plan, and it felt really good. I think we did the right things and made a lot of changes overnight, because yesterday we rolled out just being far out of the window, so made the right changes, and this car feels really good right now, so I'm happy with the changes we've made. I'm still not totally satisfied, because I think we can adjust the car and get better still, but so far so good. Yeah, I mean, I'm having a blast right now with Ilcoin Racing. Didn't know I was racing here in St. Pete until a few weeks ago, so really grateful, having a great time, and cannot thank Bill right here enough to give me this opportunity.
With how late it came together, and now this run in the practice sessions, this sort of readjust your goals now? We're looking later today with the qualifying, but race
it's looking good so far, but it's not qualifying. It doesn't count. So we got to make sure we keep what we have and make it a little bit better for qualifying in the race. And I mean, the way these tires are dropping off, it's going to be really interesting tomorrow in a race with strategy, everything. So it's going to be a lot of learning still because it's a whole new group. Everything's new here. So I mean, so far so good. Really good start, and well, I'm having a great time.
Let's go over to Michael Young.
Now with Connor Daly, P5 in that session. Big jump at the end, and obviously these tires are questionable on what you have. I mean, when you get it done, you have to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, that was like something I've never felt before. I mean, the amount of grip that you have on the one lap, and as soon as you start the second lap, it's completely gone. It kind of makes it exciting, honestly. You got to nail it. You got to be perfect. You got to trust that you're going to be able to stop the car into turn 12 to start, or 13 to start the lap. But you know, this JHR team has given me you know, a great car. I've enjoyed working through it. We obviously need to do a lot more still, and I think, you know, it's good to see. I think the field is a little bit mixed up, so it's kind of cool to see that. I think it's going to make qualifying even more exciting, and you have to be perfect. So I want to thank Chevrolet and the team for kind of getting us ready for it.
Managing those reds, how long do you think you can last on them in race conditions?
Do you want to measure in laps or yards?
Oh, okay. I mean, that quick.
No, I mean, I think yesterday, honestly, we made them last, you know, a few laps. So I think it just depends on how you attack it. And obviously, there's a lot of smart people here in the paddock who know how to make the tires last. So we'll see. We'll probably think they're going to last 4 laps, and then Joseph Newgarden will make them last 35 or something like that. So we'll see.
A lot of fans concerned about the situation with your sponsorships, and obviously a number change here this weekend. I know you can't talk about it, but a potential for somebody coming aboard here in the future for this 76 group?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the business side is super important, and especially to, you know, secure and solidify your job at all times. So results also help that too. So we want to come out of here with some trophies or some good things to stand on as we move forward. But yeah, just happy to have the support that we do have, and you know, we'll keep going as one day at a time. That's how I live life.
Well, there we go. That is practice complete. Stay with us here on JB Motorsports. We're going to redirect you over to the NASCAR stream where FP1, FP2 and qualifying takes place in one big stream, the Saturday watch along for NASCAR. Stay with us for that. But we're going to quickly take you back over to the battle screen, and we have Marcus Ericsson, who ends up fastest in the session. We'll quickly run you through the full result before we leave this stream and take you over to NASCAR. So we have Rinus VeeKay in second, Alex Palou in third, and then Nolan Siegel is in fourth position, Connor Daly in fifth, Christian Lundgaard is in P6, and then Stingray Rob in seventh, Pato Ward in eighth, Carl Kirkwood is ahead of David Malukas, who rounds out the top 10. We have Armstrong in 11th, and then Ray Hall in 12th, Felix Rosenquist in 13th position, Joseph Newgarden in 14th, and then we have Devlin DiFrancesco in 15th with Santino Ferrucci directly in behind in P16. Then it's Scott Dixon, and ahead of another Scott McLaughlin is in 18th. Then it's Rossi and Herta rounding out the top 20. And then you have Louis Foster in 21st, Kiffin Simpson in 22nd, Callum Ilott for the new Prema team in 23rd. Will Power is ahead of Christian Rasmussen, Jacob Abel, and Robert Schwartzman, a former driver from Formula 2, and the fans over there would know him and his team pretty well. But there we go. That is going to wrap everything up for the second practice session here for INDYCAR. As we mentioned, stay with us as we're going to take you over to NASCAR, but join us later on at 7:25 UK time to see who is going to take the opening pole of the year. But for now, goodbye.